Good afternoon. The meeting will be live in 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon. My name is August HART ADA, and I'm the chair of the ADA Accessible Committee. The meeting is now called to order. Welcome to the August 18th, 2022 ADA Committee meeting. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administration Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. Would everyone please look at the screen of your devices? An image of the flag is displayed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Staff, will you please do the roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Committee Member Clark, Committee Member Jenkins, Committee Member Levy.
Present.
Thank you. Committee Member LeBou. Committee Member Mills. Committee Member Poncho.
Present.
Committee Chair Seidel.
Here.
Committee Member Williams. And Committee Member Wazorek.
Here.
You do not have a physical quorum, Madam Chair.
Rules for meeting participation are provided in the packet for your information. We also have newer members of our staff present, Mr. Omar Alvarado and Ms. Kessie Dorner. Could you please come to the podium and introduce yourselves?
I'm going to try to be a little further from the mic this time because last time I was right on top of it and sounded super muffled. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Omar Alvarado. I'm the new Chief Delivery Officer here with HART. The three groups that flow up to me are our Planning and Scheduling Group, our Digital Solutions Group, and our Capital Programs Group. So happy to be here. Looking forward to working with you guys. And yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you and welcome to HART. We're looking forward to working with you in the future. Next is public comment. There's one speaker registered to provide public comment virtually. As a reminder, comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Ms. Natalia Rihos, if you are connected, you may start your comments.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natalia Rihos, and thank you for allowing me to speak. As someone who relies on HART Plus for their full mode of transportation, I would like to propose the following changes to the system in order to better serve its riders and why these changes would be beneficial to both the employees of HART and its riders. The current system allows drivers to arrive up to 30 minutes prior to the client's requested pickup time. Currently, clients have no way of knowing when the driver will arrive, which forces disabled clients to sit idly by their door or entrance of the building, waiting for the bus to arrive. I propose an app. If there was an app for HART Plus riders, we would be able to have live tracking of the bus driver's current location so they can know where their driver is and be actively ready, schedule and cancel trips on the app by passing the need to call dispatch, as well as better catering to deaf customers, customers with speech impediments, and customers with anxiety, and finally purchase HART Plus booklets or allow rides to be prepaid through the app. and such services has been done before by similar paratransit companies.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Rios. Is there anybody else present who would like to speak? Yeah. Well, since we don't have a quorum, we'll dispense with reading of the minutes and approval. Next on the agenda is presentation on the fiscal year 2023 proposed budgets. Ms. Loretta Kirk, Chief Financial Officer, you're recognized to present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. I'm going to provide an overview of the current proposed budget for fiscal year 23. This budget was last discussed with the HART Board on Monday, August the 15th. So I just want you to know that the board has been deliberating on this budget since May of 2022, and the budget will be approved based on the requirements from the state of Florida, hopefully in September. So today, I just want to go over the remaining budget calendar. We're just on the edge of September where we get the budget approved. So I'll go over our operating revenue, our operating expenses, then we'll look at a summary of the proposed operating budget. Then going to the next slide, we'll look at the proposed service, and if there's any questions, as we go, we'll be happy to answer questions. I see there's a number of people in the room that can help me answer questions. We'll look at the capital plan, and of course, the capital budget. So, in terms of the calendar, as I mentioned on August 15th, we gave a presentation to the board, and now we're moving towards having the budget approved, but we certainly wanted to come to this committee to receive any feedback that you have before we move for approval. So in September, we will have our first public hearing, and the public hearings, you probably know, are mandated by state regulations out of the Department of Revenue. We have to have 2 public hearings. The first public hearing, we adopt the tentative millage rate and the tentative budget. Then we'll advertise for the second public hearing. I'll just note that the advertising for the first public hearing is actually on the back of Hillsborough County resident tax bills. But we at HART have to advertise for the second public hearing. And then we'll have that second public hearing on September 26th. And during that public hearing, hopefully the board will adopt the final millage rate and the final budget. So in terms of our assumptions for revenue, and once I go through the assumptions for revenue and expenses, you'll actually see a summary of all the revenues and expenses in a chart form. But anyway, our main source of revenue is the ad valorem taxes. We are expecting an increase of 14% or increase over last year of $8,379,311, $8,379,311. And according to HART policy, we only budget 95% of the projected proceeds. That way we're budgeted conservatively, so if they don't materialize as expected, then we won't have budget shortfall. So 5% is just kind of like in reserves. In terms of federal relief funding, you probably know the last several years we received COVID relief funding, and so we are budgeting COVID relief funding of $19.9 million for fiscal year 23. We always budget our fares based on our projected ridership, and I'll show you the ridership that we're projecting for big bus, paratransit, and for the streetcar in a few minutes. And then we are expecting to receive federal operating grant of $4,446,000, and that is from our 5307 program of project funding. revenues that we're expecting for fiscal year 23 on the next slide include state operating grants of $9.1 million, and included in the state operating grant is $800,000 that we use to continue the free fares on the streetcar. And then we receive other funding for the streetcar from the city of Tampa, historical streetcar funding from the city of Tampa, and then what we call local contributions from the city of Tampa. Advertising revenue, we're expecting $1.5 million, and other revenue will equal $946,900. If I go to the next slide, this is just a slide to show that over the last several years since the COVID, we have been allocated from the federal government $103.378 million. You can see that we've used money in fiscal year 20, 21. We have money included in our fiscal year 22 budget, and certainly for our fiscal year 23 budget. And as I mentioned, we're expecting this year, going into fiscal year 23, to use $19.9 million of that federal relief funding. In terms of expenses, our budget is based on 105 full-time equivalent positions. That includes 594 ATU employees, and ATU employees include the operators and the maintenance workers. 51 Teamster employees, that includes the maintenance and operating supervisors, and then 155 non-bargaining positions. All those are included in the 800 FTE. We did negotiate new labor agreements that we implemented this year, and they will carry over to future years. And so the salary and wages include the impact of those recently negotiated labor agreements. Healthcare, everyone knows that healthcare goes up every year, and we are projecting a 10% increase for fiscal year 23. And then fuel cost projections, I think everyone also knows that fuel and oil has gone up, it's coming down a little bit, but nevertheless, these are the numbers that we're budgeting for fiscal year 23. For our CNG, we calculate a diesel gallon equivalent, and we're projecting that to be $1.62. Diesel fuel, we're projecting at $4.50 per gallon, and unleaded gas, we're projecting at $3.40 per gallon. Those are basic assumptions for expenses. So given those assumptions for revenues and expenses, this is our operating budget summary. Total revenues, and if you can see the column for fiscal year 23, because this has fiscal year 21 actual, our budget for fiscal year 22, and our projection for fiscal year 23. HART, by law, has to have a balanced budget, so we are estimating our total operating revenues at $114,309,110. That's the same number for our expenses, and you can see the components of our revenues are the components I just mentioned a few minutes ago during the assumptions. You can see our main source of operating revenue is the ad valorem. Our second largest source, going down that list, you can see the ARP COVID relief funding at $19.9 million, and the third largest source is the passenger fare revenue, and it's projected to be $10.9 million. You can see that our ridership is increasing, our fares are increasing because of the increase in ridership. But, during the COVID, the ridership was down. You can see the fares were $6.2 million in 21. We were projecting $8.4 million for 22, and then we're projecting $10.9 million for 23. In terms of expenses, as I mentioned earlier, we have to have a balanced budget, so our revenues were $114 million. Our expenses are projected at $114 million. In terms of our major expense categories, very consistent with other transit systems throughout the United States and throughout North America, the personnel costs are 70% of the budget. That personnel cost includes salary and wages, fringe benefits, and healthcare, which is itemized separately here. So you can see that we're projecting $58 million for salary and wages, $12 million for fringe benefits, $10.9 million for healthcare. For total personnel costs for fiscal year 23, $81,081,480. And then you can see the other categories of expenses: operational contract services, parts and supplies, insurance, all costs to manage and run the transit system, fuel and oil, other administrative contract services, legal services, utilities, marketing, printing, and taxes and fees. You can see the details for a total of $114.3 million. This is our proposed service level, and if you have any questions, Omar is in the room, so I just want to draw attention to Omar. He is the one that manages this schedule for me. You can see the fixed route service, which is the big bus. You can see the miles, the hours, and the ridership. 7.1 million miles, 556,000 hours, and ridership we're projecting at 10.2 million rides. In terms of paratransit, the miles, 1,693,900, hours, 123,422, and the ridership we're projecting at 201,232. Our third mode is Streetcar. You can see the miles, 140,000, hours, 25,000, ridership, 1.2 million, and for all of HART, the entire system, we're projecting to operate at 8.9 million miles, 704,000 hours, and again, our ridership, 11,688,786. And again, you can see our ridership increasing over the past few years because, COVID was in 2021 and 22. This year, at Mr. Grant's direction, we created a 5-year capital plan. We normally look at the capital plan, capital budget annually, but now, of course, we want to look out into the years and project out at least 5 years. Our total capital plan for 5 years, $334,062,882. Now, the 5-year plan is fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 27. The first year of the plan, which is fiscal year 23, that's actually our capital budget. So in terms of the budget, of course, we have to have the funds available for those expenditures to have a balanced budget. So the proposed budget for fiscal year 23, $45,736,905. You can see 24, which are projected out for the 5-year plan. Fiscal year 24, 71.5 million, Fiscal year 25, 69.8 million. Fiscal year 26, 66.5 million. And fiscal year 27, 80.5 million. Staying on the slide, you can see the major the categories of capital expenses. Rolling stock and maintenance, and that's where you'll see the vehicles, and we'll show you the detail for the vehicles. Facilities and construction, technology, planning studies, certainly the plan for the future capital projects, bus stops and shelters, those are our customer amenities, the arterial BRT, which is not budgeted for fiscal year 23, but you see we budgeted starting in fiscal year 24, safety and security. You can see we have a larger amount this year, and that number will increase in future years. The Jobs Act required us to put additional money in safety and security, so we budgeted for that. And then maintenance equipment. So those are the categories in the capital plan. The next few slides will show you the detail of the capital plan. Rolling stock, you can see that we're purchasing diesel buses, We are going to start our electric bus program. We include parts for the streetcar. Streetcar expansion, you can see that's budgeted out in 2027. Engines and transmissions, something that you would certainly be interested in, the replacement of paratransit and flex vans, the bus midlife overhaul, and then passenger ferry is programmed in fiscal year 26. So this is the detail of the 5-year plan, understanding that everything in fiscal year 23, which is our current budget, is funded. And future years, the ability to accomplish the projects in future years will be dependent on our ability to receive funding for those projects. So fiscal year 23 is funded. So we'll look at a little more detail. So this is the detail for facilities and construction. I won't read everything, but this just the 5-year plan, as I mentioned, had major categories. And so the next few slides show you the detail of those categories. All right, so that was the, if you can just go back for a second, just so, go back, I'm sorry. Okay, let's just start with with the revenue vehicles, which is the slide after, right here. Okay. So, for fiscal year 23, we expect to spend $22 million, and you can see, I'm just drawing attention for the benefit of the ADA committee. You can see that we're going to replace paratransit and flex vans at a cost of $2.1 million. And then you can see that, the big buses, the electric buses, this will be the first year for the electric bus program, and then other incidental costs related to vehicles. On the next slide, these are facilities and construction. We expect to spend $4.4 million for fiscal year 23. You see the numbers increase drastically in the out years because the first line, the heavy maintenance facility, is we're going to start the planning, engineering, all the, preparing for the construction for the heavy maintenance facility. So we have $2 million budgeted in fiscal year 23, but you can see the larger amounts going out through the fiscal year 27 capital plan for a total cost for the heavy maintenance facility at $100 million. And then you can see the other expenditures for fiscal year 23, which, like I said, are funded, and then the out years, which are planned. Going to the next slide, this is technology.
At the budget presentation.
Certainly, a major transit system such as HART, you have to invest in technology. For fiscal year 23, we are projecting to put in a major radio system, which we refer to as CAD ABL, to locate the vehicles. And so computer-aided dispatch, just to help us dispatch operators and just kind of control the flow of traffic within the system. And that's the major project for fiscal year 23, $13.4 million. And then we are going to make some major improvements to the Marion Transit Center. And Mr. Grant, do you want to mention anything about that in terms of the technology as well as the facility?
Sure, thank you. So what we're planning on doing with the Marion Transit Center, and we talked about this a little bit when we had our meeting last week, several of you were there, we are going to build a conference room, a board meeting room at MTC, because that would be easier for everyone to get to. And if we really want to have engaging customer dialogue, we shouldn't make it difficult for the customers to get to us to dialogue. So we're working with this funding to make improvements to that facility so that we can hold these types of meetings there.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the next slide, the next category. And this slide has several categories. So it has the bus stops and shelters. You see that we invest every year in the customer amenities. You can see for the 5 years, we have $15.8 million program, about $3.2 million a year. We do plan to invest in our BRT starting in fiscal year 24, and then you see we have planning studies and other incidental capital projects. But again, the total capital plan, $334.1 billion, and for fiscal year 23 budget, $45.7 million. If you look at the next slide, this is our budget. So this was that first column of the capital plan, because as I stated earlier, if we do a budget, it has to be a balanced budget. So because I just showed you $45.7 million in capital projects, we have to have $45.7 million in revenue to fund those projects. And you can see the source of our revenue. We receive money from FHWA, our discretionary grants, our competitive grants. That's money that we get by competing for grants. We do have a small transfer this year from the general fund, and that's the source of that would be our ad valorem tax. We do receive money from the state. We will receive money for TICO, that's the matching share for the electric the electric buses that we plan to have built. And then we have 3 pots of money in terms of formula money that we get from the Federal Transit Administration for bus and bus facilities, stated good repair, and our urbanized area formula, which is that 5307. And then we receive local impact and mobility fees to, help us fund the passenger amenities, the bus stops and shelters. That's our major source of funding, and I've already gone over our capital projects in the category for total revenue and projects of $45.7 million for fiscal year 23 budget. I'll go through these slides very quickly because this information was on the capital plan, but these slides highlight the 23 budget. And it's the budget that the board will approve in September, the expenditures for fiscal year 23. So again, you can see what we plan to purchase for revenue vehicles, including the paratransit and flex vans, the big buses, the streetcar part, and the midlife overhaul for the buses. And that's money that we invest primarily for engines and transmissions and other major improvements to the buses to help them reach their expected useful life, because we know buses deteriorate over time. And so it's standard that when you get to mid-life, if you will, half of the life, about 6 or 7 years, you'll do a midlife overhaul. The next slide is the facilities and construction total, which I've gone over, but this is $4.4 million for fiscal year 23. Technology total, I've gone over that, $14.8 for fiscal year 23. And then the other categories, just to highlight the fiscal year 23 bus stops and shelters, $3 million, almost $3.1 million. Transportation studies, $500,000. Surveillance system on our facilities. We always invest in safety and security, and we're mandated from the Federal Transit Administration with 5307 to ensure that we spend money on safety and security. And then we have some parts that we want to purchase, again, for a total capital budget of $45 million. That completes my presentation, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from anybody?
Yeah, I have baby. Good afternoon. I seen this budget at the last meeting, the MPO Level Roadway Committee. But I don't see where y'all are paying these vans. These vans are breaking down quicker than you can get on the road. You got vans out there that don't have any issues. You got vans van that lift doesn't want to work. You got drivers being late, picking people up because they got to take the van back in and get another van. We spend all this money on these vehicles and they're not working. You know, the mechanic don't know what he's doing. Nothing's going on. Because this should not be going on every week. There's nothing wrong with a van. The driver had to go out and get 2 vans in one day. Because they either the machine, the lift not working, the AC not working, the radio not working. I mean, we have people that pick up that from the others who need the AC. Where they get out of the doctor's office. You got people in the back that's not getting, in a wheelchair that's not getting AC. I know there's a lot of money that we're spending, but we need to make sure that these mechanics, who is fixing these vans, know what they're doing, or find out what's going on with, because either it's in the middle, either the drivers are tearing them up, or the mechanics don't know what they're doing. I blame both, because I know some of the drivers drive their van like they crazy. They drive all crazy, you know. They slamming on brakes. They drugging the people in the back. So no van ain't gonna last for so long when you're doing that. If the mechanic ain't doing his job, it also ain't gonna last. So we need to figure out what is going on in between those two entities. Because working is not a lot of money to be wasting on the vans.
So, Madam Chair, may I address?
I'm sorry.
May I address?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, Mr. Arizona, for your comments. So first, Ms. Kirk has put up on the slide that this 5-year capital plan slide, and if you look in the first column for FY 2023, under proposed budget, we are budgeting, if you start at the bottom of the table and you go up 3 rows, you'll see replacement of paratransit and flex vans at an amount for this next year coming up, $2,123,800. So we are committing to addressing the issues with the van, so we are looking to purchase some more. And then if you continue looking down that row, every year after this next fiscal year, which begins October 1, we are looking to continue to add more vans into our fleet. So we do have a plan to replace the existing vans that need to be replaced. As you mentioned, there are issues with them, and we recognize that, with new vans. So I do want you to see that. We're also looking at opportunities to make some replacements on some of the components on the vans that need to be replaced, so we're working on that as well. And I have written down some of your comments as far as driver issues. We definitely will make sure that our operators are trained to make sure that they follow the speed limits and, drive appropriately. That is something that is a part of our foundation of training. So I know you have specifics, and I know you're not shy to tell us exactly when it is. So we'll just make sure that we stay engaged with you, and we do our part to ensure that you have a safe, comfortable experience on our system. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. You gotta realize that they're not paying for these vans. We are, you are. Those don't care if they pay or not. But if it was their own vehicle, they wouldn't do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Kirk, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Next is the chairman's report. First of all, I want to start out by thanking Ms. LeGrand, Ms. Williams, and all of the HART staff for the meeting last week for the Riders Advisory Committee. I was a little shocked when I got here because everybody that attended that meeting was from the disabled community.
Right.
So that's not only telling me, but telling HART that we need to really address the disabled ridership. And I was so glad to have everybody there and that they did their opinion. Ms. LeGrand and I know Kimley were taking copious notes. So your comments was well received. So thank everybody that went there and thank everybody here at HART. I'm still hearing from a lot of people, and I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was at the Brandon Library and some gentleman came out and just saw me sitting there and wanted to know all about HART and the Rider Advisory Committee and HART Plus. So people are out there and they are interested. I would suggest, like I did at the ambassador meeting that we had years ago, HART needs to do some type of marketing out there at like our libraries, our clinics, our doctor's offices, hospitals, businesses that not only deal with the disabled community, but even with the regular ridership. That information needs to get out of there. And I know I also requested at the last meeting that maybe there's a packet or something that we, as part of this committee or ambassadors, that, you know, we can carry around and give this information out. Verbal helps a lot, but when you have something to actually show somebody, that helps more. Mm-hmm. So I want to, you know, comment on that. We used to have a lady on our committee by the name of Becky Forresall, and she had a group called Yes America United Incorporated, and every year they have a disability fair. And I met her husband last week when I was doing some shopping, and he wanted to remind me that they're still going to do it this year. It's advertised on their website, and HART and Sunshine Line are always included in that. So this is for Saturday, October 1st at All People's Park and Life Center on Sly Avenue. It's all free. A lot of things dealing with the disabled community, so if you can go, I would appreciate that. That's all I have right now. Thank you. Next is HART Plus and Customer Choice Voucher Program Update. Ms. Kimley Green, Director of Customer Experience, will present. You're recognized.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and Ms. LeGrand. Thank you a lot. I wanted to really thank all the members that attended the Riders Advisory. That was great to have your support and have you there. The packets that you have with you right now, for those of you who are here in person, these yellow envelopes do have some of the material you requested. We did put only 5 copies of each for now. I wanted to get feedback perhaps from you in the next meeting. We were thinking of maybe creating a small rack card that had a summary of all the things, so you didn't have to carry all the different flyers. But the packet you have with you right now does have a fact sheet with information about HART and just snippets of, you know, how many vans we have, just general information about HART and our mission. We included also a map with all the routes and frequently visited areas in town that people visit in our routes. We also have information about the Flamingo fairs and how to use Flamingo. A streetcar line, of course, you know, we have a nice flyer there about the streetcar. And we are also very actively hiring for operators and mechanics. So we have some information in there, but of course we also are hiring for a lot of different positions. So we added some flyers about that as well in there for you. And very important also, we are including in there is the hurricane information. I know with all of our HART Plus members, we have a chat and send something out to you guys annually. But I just wanted to do a reminder that if you do need assistance and transportation to shelters during a hurricane, to remember to sign up with the health department. The information is in there, but we always reach out as well, you know, when a hurricane is approaching to give everybody an update. But there's a couple of flyers in there about hurricane awareness and shelters and HART bus routes. And again, we added a few copies of each packet. For those of you who are online, I will reach out to you to see if you want to, I can get the packets to you, or if you want to pick them up in the next meeting, but most likely I'll reach out to get to you. And now moving on to my update. For Heart Plus right now, we have, for this fiscal year so far, we have 4,052 certified Heart Plus customers. Last fiscal year, we had 3,844. So we are going up a little bit, most likely because of the expansion in our service area. For Yellow Cab, our average monthly trips are 2,608. Of those, our average wheelchair trips monthly are 1,557, and that is for our Yellow Cab who handles our customer choice program. Our average on-time performance is at 96% right now. For Heart Plus, I do have our July trips, so we conducted 18,009 trips. Of those, 99% of our customers arrived to their destination on time, and 88% were picked up from their destinations or from their pickup location on time. And I wanted to throw in there the call center numbers too. Our average monthly call center numbers are 15,709. And of course that includes not only Heart Plus bookings, but any information about routes, route familiarization, commendation, complaints. We handle all kinds of calls for you. But that is my report, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I know you all been doing a good job on time pick up, but I just wanted to find what is when you book the trip to go from one place to another, you have one van going from here to Brandon, and then where I gotta go out of there, maybe that's putting a lot of stress on the driver.
Yeah.
So, and they're telling me that because a lot of them know me from a long time, so they're comfortable letting me know what they think. They think that the schedulers who's booking these trips are putting people too far apart. People that need to go to Brandon, people that need to go to Tampa, and they just put a van in Brandon and let it stay in Brandon all day. Put a van over here and let it stay over here. Well, like it boils, that's why they late.
Yeah, and I know it's stressful on the operators and the customers as well, sometimes to be in a vehicle a long time. With Heart Plus, we build our manifest daily. So we try as best as we can, to have operators and trips in certain areas.
Right.
But as you know, we have a lot of customers, for example, that travel from Apollo Beach to Town and Country. And that, somebody has to do that trip. And so we do try. Our service development team, scheduling team does a great job, and they try to, minimize the trip length and to the best possible. And we also have customers who book their trips depending on the time they want to be picked up, and others choose the time they want to drop off. So, for example, sometimes, a customer wants to be dropped off right away. We can't always do it even if we're near their destination, because we might be dropping off somebody who indicated that they needed to be, to a dialysis or medical or work. So there's a lot of factors we take in place to schedule a trip, but definitely always appreciate the feedback. There's a lot of changes, and Mr. Omar Alvarado is very familiar with trapeze, and he's giving us a lot of great feedback that I think is going to help us really improve trips and booking and being a lot more efficient. We're always taking suggestions, so we're actually really thrilled that we have Mr. Alvarado with us right now and his knowledge that he's bringing, because I think that's going to help us reduce some of those times and book a little more efficiently.
And then you also need to let the people who are new with your Heart Plus, that they don't understand that it's a shared right.
Yeah.
So they're getting mad at the operator because they want to get up. I had to tell the lady, I've been doing this a long time. You either going to have to ride or you get called out. That's how it goes. Well, you can't be getting angry at our drivers because you have to drive us safely. And the more you yell at them, the more they're not looking at the road.
Yeah.
And I wanna go look. So you may wanna have to, we get like, this is a shared ride.
Yes. And I always appreciate your comments, but I was smiling a little because I got similar comments this week from our customer service reps. They're like, you need to explain that better. And it's interesting, when we do our Heart Plus interviews, the team does a great job explaining, but customers at that point really want to get approved. So, we sit down and we have a checklist and we review the booklet, and of course, everybody says yes, and they want to get approved at the time. So we have set aside some of our lead reps and our customer service manager right now. They're doing a great time. When we get that feedback from the operators, we are reaching out to the customers, and definitely, we're always trying to go back, explain to them the rules and explaining to them, the length of the time and that, and it is a shared ride. So I thank you for that, and we'll definitely probably can do maybe some type of promotional piece once a year, maybe reaching out. Now that we've been collecting email addresses, it's probably a little bit easier that we can send reminders to our Heart Plus customers and explaining the service.
And then I have one more thing, on a personal of mine. Because I go to Benji Davis every Wednesday, and that's my day to relax and hang out with the fellows. Now, I understand that the address that I have to use is Whiskey Jones. Whiskey Jones on the corner of Cannon Causeway. Now, where I need to go is a mile down past that, but this is the car area. So I'm all the way down there to the boat ramp. You know where the boat ramp is? There's a nest like that from Whiskey Jones. And it is a mile down the road to get over.
So it's out of the service area by a mile?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have to go, it's a long walk.
Of course.
Man, we gotta do something like that if we can.
Well, I will
But
definitely.
I think it is because they don't want to go over the thing with that bridge, I guess.
I can share those comments with our service development team. I know right now we're working on changes in February, so definitely year-round we are, even in these meetings, we definitely appreciate the comments because, we can look at those for future service changes. And Mr. Alvarado wants to.
So, may I, Madam Chair? Yes. So, Arizona, you raised some good points, and I just wanted to ask Mr. Alvarado to come forward to talk about our new approach to how we're going to schedule your trips. It is not our intention, regardless of where someone is in the county, for people to stay on vehicles for several hours. So that's definitely something that we have to address and we have to fix, and we can with technology. So one of the things that Mr. Alvarado is looking at is actually addressing that. So I wanted him to take a moment to share with you what we're doing.
Thank you very much. So I'll actually start with some of what we're doing for September and just kind of reallocating resources. So something that my team saw when I came in is how the buses are kind of laid out throughout the day. And something we saw is that there was a lot of ridership in the morning and the PM peaks, but the peak of the vehicles was at like 11 a.m. So for September, we went ahead and we addressed that. So basically, the vehicles and the amount of passengers, we wanted to increase the amount of vehicles we had in those AM and PM peaks. The other thing too is that our standby operators, we wanted to reallocate where they were as well, so we had that protection for those AM and PM peaks. So sometimes what you'll see that's happening right now is that there's not enough vehicles out on the road, and that's what's causing some of these 2 and 3 hours delays. So we're going to move forward with that change for September. We just kind of went through a review process with our collective bargaining team, with our operators and all that, so we've got all that set for September. The other piece that Kemley was alluding to as well is how we book trips as well, and improving some of those processes. So we went ahead and looked at some of the, let's call them settings in Trapeze, to give our customer service reps more opportunities to find more options to put that trip in place in service. So that should help reduce some of the wait times. Having operators out when we need them, and when you're out there and you need those trips, that's going to help as well. And we're really just trying to kind of improve, things like the wait time, on-time performance, and all those different pieces. So we'll see how that goes for September. We're based on the ridership information and the trends that we've seen. We've got enough vehicles out there in those peaks, and as things change, we'll go ahead and just kind of continually improve that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Kimley.
You're welcome.
Next is Basic Transit Infrastructure Update. Mr. Dwayne Brown, Project Manager 1, you're recognized.
Committee Chair, I believe we did have a question online from Committee
Okay.
Member Poncho.
I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kimberly, I just had a quick question earlier when you were talking about the percentage for on-time rates. Help me again with the definition of what on-time means. I do recall it was like a window of time frame, so help me remember again.
Yes, we have a pickup window, it's a 30-minute. So, for example, when the customer says, I want to be picked up at 9 a.m., we can show up between 8:30 and 9 a.m. So our window is 30 minutes before, they call it 30 before, 0 after. So we...
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That means if you have a pickup at 9, you need to be ready at 8:30. Also, when the van get there and knock on the door, he's out there, you got 5 minutes after that. And then if they get there at around 9:30, then you have to really go also. But if they get there a minute late, then that's how it goes. You might get there 9:31, but you're out with them 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dwayne Brown, project manager with HART, and I'm the BTI program manager. I'm going to be doing the BTI update for you today. Currently, BTI has 15 projects ongoing right now. We have 3 in pre-construction, 2 in permitting, and 10 in design currently. And I don't know, it's not showing up on here, but this is a location, the map of where all our projects are located right now. With the green, the yellow dots represent the projects that are ready for construction. The red dots are the ones that are in design. Purple ones are in permitting. And I don't have any completed ones right now, but that's where all our projects are located throughout the county. We have the 3 projects that we have in pre-construction right now. They are at there's the Parsons Road corridor that we're working on, which is 14 stops. The Hillsborough Avenue at Orient Road and the 30th Street at Hillsborough Avenue. All those projects are currently have contractors assigned to them, and it's been a slight delay due to a couple of issues with getting materials. Materials such as concrete are kind of hard to come by right now, so they don't want to start the projects until they have their concrete ordered. So we're just waiting on that to come, and then those projects are going to get started. The 2 projects that we have in permitting are Armenia at Hillsborough, and we're still kind of waiting on we're waiting on CVS to give us their easement to get that project going, and Tampa Bay at Hillsborough County at HCC there, right across from the stadium. We're waiting on that to come out of permitting. We had some an issue with lighting and an issue with we were gonna move some trees around there, but we've got that all taken care of, and that should be coming through here within the next couple of days. 10 projects that's in design. These are located throughout the county in different spots where ridership and other things where we had customer feedback saying that we needed to update some of these stops. So these are the 10 stops that we have in design currently. The new shelter program, we just placed out the second shelter, and we completed the project over at 22nd and Henry, right in front of Grace Point. I want to thank Susan Morgan from Grace Point. She did an excellent job in helping us and making sure that we had everything together to get this project completed. The shelters look good over there. It's really good. We received our first 30 shelters. We got them in 2 shipments, one on August 3rd and one on August 9th. And we're expecting our second shipment of 30 to come in on the tentative schedule right now for them to be shipped on August 26th. And then the next set of shelters that are going out, we're going to be putting 6 shelters out at the UATC. And then here is our tentative schedule and list of the first 30 shelters that will be placed. Again, this is a tentative schedule, tentative list of shelters where we're going to place them. I have another list of the next 60, and then I have an additional list of the rest of the ones that are going to go out. We're still going over that with the staff to make sure that we're getting those shelters in the right places and to make sure that that they are going out at the correct places. So, again, this is our tentative schedule. Do you have any questions?
I do. Once you find out about the MLK, with them taking everything out, plus,
So you talk MLK at Williams Road, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a project. There's a development that's getting done there. I believe it's going to be a couple of hundred units that are going to be made out there for housing, low-income housing there, and they owe us. We've been going back and forth with the developer and looking at their plans. They're not going to remove that the shelter that's there at Williams Road, but they owe us a connection from their development onto our shelter, and they're gonna do some replacement and correcting of the sidewalk and of the shelter pad that's there, but they're gonna connect it up to their site what they have, and it's gonna be like a boardwalk that's gonna be coming through that little marsh area to connect up to the side to the bus stop that's there. But that bus stop is not going anywhere.
okay, that's great, thank you. Any other questions?
Well,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you're aware that there is a lady from the
4 o'clock meeting.
St. B tank,
Where again? I'm sorry.
from the time they did an interview about the levies and where the bus stops don't have shelter. And I gave you my list about a year ago. And it's still not adjusted at the corner of 12th and 21st.
The corner of 12th,
12th Street and 21st.
12th and 21st.
There has not been a shelter since I've been going back, but I have not been a shelter. It's on both sides of the number 6.
Okay.
The number 6 goes down there on both sides of the street. There is no shelter.
And then I'm trying to place that. That is off of. It's right, just south of the park. That's right there, off of 21st. And is that the one that's right in front of the? There's a cemetery that's right there.
No.
No, that's not the. That's not the
21st and 12th.
21st and 12th,
between Nebraska and 15th.
between Nebraska and 15th. All right, I have to go back and take a look at it. I'm running a blank right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about number 6. And I've been telling you about it for like a couple months now. I ain't got no food yet.
Okay.
So, I don't know the ladies call you about the times, the same 3 times.
Same few times.
He's a 10-day times, but yeah.
Oh, 10 times.
Yeah, tell me that.
Yes, we have spoken with the reporter from
Yeah,
10 times.
there will be a boy coming out very soon.
Okay.
That's the one thing you gotta know. That they interview me and a couple more of the papers. I did what I could. I was good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
You're welcome.
Roundtable discussion is next. Ms. Poncho?
Thank you. I did have a question, and this is actually kind of based on Arizona's comments earlier in the meeting in regards to the concerns that at times buses have had to return because I think he was sharing that the lists weren't working. And I was just wondering, as a standard practice, before the buses are put into routes, are there usual checks of all of the systems, the lists and things like that? Are those cycled? I had seen, some information ages ago when I was looking into some concerns about delays and access for persons with disabilities to public transportation. That was some recommendations when things were being investigated. So I just wanted to see if that is a standard practice, that the lists are cycled just to make sure that they're operable before the buses go onto the roads.
Yes, the operators, every morning before they take the buses, they do a pretty lengthy check of all the systems in the bus. There are times when the ramp and other systems fail, and they have a tool even when the ramp isn't working to manually deploy it. We did have a couple of situations with Mr. Arizona when the operators weren't able to do it or didn't do it, and we've addressed those with the operators. I don't know if I covered everything. Did you guys want to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. Yes,
Thank you, Kimmel.
you're welcome.
And I also just wanted to share really quickly, I always appreciate, as an 8A coordinator for the city of Tampa, I'm constantly getting inquiries, and Kimberly is so responsive to my inquiries on a very frequent basis. So I always appreciate your timeliness in getting some information to me to help our community members, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Maddie?
I don't have any comments today, thank you.
Arizona?
No, I don't want to know how they are gathering.
How what?
How the yellow gathering, they're doing good.
Yellow Cab seems to be doing good, yes. I don't have didn't have any major concerns reported, and their on-time performance was, their average, I did the average today, is at 96%, and they did, on average, they're doing 2,608 monthly trips.
Yeah, they're doing, I think.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Kimberly?
I do have 2 questions, and one of those questions is based on those percentages. How are they calculated?
So that's the member of the public. She's already spoken.
I'm sorry, ma'am, at this time, the public comment has passed. If you'd like, I can reach out to you offline, and we can get some information to you on how we calculate the on-time performance.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know we weren't allowed to ask questions based on what you guys are saying. This is my first time. So
That's
sorry.
fine, thank you.
Our next meeting is currently scheduled for November 17th, 2022 at 3 p.m. here at the HART Administration Facility. Is there any old business, new business? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Amen.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website